Great, please be seated. So one of the principles of summer sermons, right? There are two principles that guide summer sermons. The first principle is it should be short. The second is it should be light. So I've never done that in my entire life. So I'm putting a timer on for 10 minutes. Let's see what happens. Okay. So welcome. I'm going to dive in right away because this is a really fascinating gospel. And it's really fascinating because I want to try to take apart two really big myths that often dominate the church. The first is that the core of the faith comes through the apostles, right? It's all about the apostles and the disciples, that small group that Jesus has around him. But check today out, he sends 70 out. He's in the middle of his ministry. Actually, he's heading toward Jerusalem, and he sends 70 out. So he's got a whole pile of disciples, not just 12. He's got a whole group of people. He sends them out in groups of two for lots of good reasons. We'll go into that in another sermon, but he sends them out in groups of two. The other thing we have to remember, so that's the first thing. It's not just a core group of people, but there's a whole group of people. He's been sowing seeds since the beginning of his ministry, right? So he's now got a group of people in the world. And the other thing that is so beautiful about the first Sunday in Pentecost, right? You have all those people with different languages, different ethnic backgrounds. So Jesus starts preaching, and his message goes out, and people go, wow, that's really kind of interesting, and they carry it out. Others carry it out, and it spreads. It's spreading. That's why in the Feast of the Pentecost, there are groups of people with about 7 or 8 different languages who are talking about the teachings of Jesus, right? So it's spread out. It's not just 70, it's not just 12. It's probably thousands now of people by the time the Feast of the Pentecost, and even by the time that Jesus is crucified, there are thousands of people throughout that region who are familiar with his teachings. So it's not a blind thing. So when Jesus says, go out and find people, go to villages and communities, find out really where our people are. Where are our people? And go into those. If they don't, the other thing he says, if they don't welcome you, remember he says, what? Knock the dust off your feet, but don't curse them. And just tell them, you had the kingdom of God was close to you. That's what he says, the gospel today in Luke, right? It's really beautiful. So the kingdom of God, we often think about the kingdom of God. This is the other myth I want to kind of take apart a little bit, that being Christian is really about being a particular kind of pious person. I don't know if you know those Christians. It's almost like that's a gold standard of being a Christian, right? Butter wouldn't melt in your mouth. I've seen Christians who are so holy they don't even walk. They just levitate, right? Just because they're so darn holy. And you think, I can never aspire to that. Well, you know what? I don't want you to aspire to that. I don't think Jesus wants you to aspire to that. It's not about that. The kingdom of God is not about being really holy, about Jody being really holy. It's got nothing to do with that. Check out the gospel. It has to do with relationship. The kingdom of God is all about relationship. It's about you and me. And it's about a special way in which you and I and we as a community interact. Jesus is sending his disciples out, not to say, you're going to have an individual relationship with Jesus. You're going to have an individual relationship with Jesus. That's a bonus. But that's not what it's about. What it's about is you're going to have an experience, and we're in this thing together. We're in this thing together. Now, the other thing that's really important to know is that none of us get through life unscathed. It's really critical for us to understand that. Everybody here in this church today has been bruised and scarred and beaten up. Everybody here has had those experiences. You've had those dark night experiences. Absolutely. And that's exactly who Jesus wants. The people who are aware of that. Those are the people he's worried about. Those are the people he's concerned about. I'll tell you a story. I've told this story before, but it's a story I really like to tell, so I'm going to retell it if that's okay. It's about the mayor who has a beautiful suit. Remember that story? I'll just go over it again. I've used it a few times, but once upon a time, there's a mayor who has a beautiful suit. He goes out, and he's a very, very rich mayor. He's got lots and lots of money, so he goes and gets this beautiful suit made. It's a gorgeous suit, right? It's an absolutely wonderful suit. And he hangs it up in his house. And if you come over to visit the mayor, he'll show you this beautiful suit because it's so beautiful, right? And he says, look at this beautiful suit. And you'll go, wow, that is such a beautiful suit, right? And the people think, well, when is he going to wear the suit? And they have a big wedding, a few weddings, and they think, surely this will be the event that will cause the mayor to wear this beautiful suit. But he doesn't because he's afraid that maybe he'll get caught and get ticked a little bit, or maybe someone will spill some wine on it. So he chooses not to wear the suit. And then there's a funeral, a couple of big funerals, in fact, and they think, well, surely this is the event for which the mayor will wear the suit. But he says, no, I don't want people, mascara when people hug me and they cry and it gets on my suit. That's not going to have that nonsense. No, the suit's going to stay in the closet, thank you very much. That's where it's going to be. The king comes to the town, and the mayor, they think surely the mayor's going to wear the suit, but no, I'm not going to wear it just for the king, right? So one day the mayor dies. And he leaves the entire estate to the town. And they don't know what to do with the suit. So half of the community says, this is what we should do with the suit, because everybody agrees it's a beautiful suit. I mean, there's no doubt about the beauty of the suit. So they think, let's put it on display, kind of like an Elvis suit, right? Only it was worn. And put it on display, and people will come, and they will pay money to see how beautiful the suit is. They said, that's a great idea. The other half of the town said, well, let's sell the suit because it's really priceless, and we'll take the money and we'll use it for our food programs. And again, people thought that was a great idea. But the town was divided. Half the people said, turn it into a museum, raise money for the poor. The others said, let's sell it right away and raise money for the poor. Until finally, the impasse was broken when a woman at the back of the church put her hand up and said, you know what we should do? We should bury the mayor in the suit. And everybody said, well, that would be a waste. And she said, exactly. That's the story. Life is to be lived, and Jesus was acutely aware of that. You all have clothes you really like. You have a worn-out sweater, you have a worn-out pair of pants, pair of shorts, whatever it is, wear a pair of shoes, and they're a source of comfort for you. We all have those things. Well, that's what life is like. Life is full of scars, whether you like it or not. It's going to be threadbare at points, and that's what life is supposed to be. And Jesus was acutely aware of that. He's not talking about a piety that it takes us out of that. He's talking about a way of living in which that is alive and well for us. That when you're broken, you come to this community and we heal you. We're here, a part of that healing journey with you. If you're struggling, this is a place you come to be mended. That's the kingdom of God. It's when you have tears and someone holds you. When you have celebrations and someone celebrates with you. That's the kingdom of God. That is the deeply human thing that Jesus sends his disciples out into. Not to say, you're going to be the holiest, you're going to be the holiest, you're going to be the holiest. You're going to be a human being, you're going to be a human being, you're going to be a human being. Jesus was acutely aware of the human condition. The second story. Once upon a time, there was a fisherman. The fisherman one day caught a great big huge fish, beautiful fish, great big huge fish, pulls it up on his boat, right? It's a great big fish. And the fish looks up at him, and he looks at the fisherman. Fish looks at the fisherman and he says, excuse me, because this fish could talk. And this fish said to the fisherman, tell you what, look, I don't want to die, I got to tell you. So listen, how would it be if I grant you 3 wishes? If I grant you 3 wishes, will you let me live? And the guy says, well, that sounds a good idea. And he says, but you got to throw me back in the ocean, right? Because I'll die up here. So I tell you what, but the bonus about that is I'll give you time to think about your wishes. You can think all night about your wishes, and tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, come down to the dock. I'll be here in the water, and you come to the dock, and you tell me what your 3 wishes are, and I'll grant them. So the fisherman thinks, well, that's a pretty reasonable idea. So he takes this huge fish, largest fish he'd ever caught in his entire life, big one. He throws it back into the water. The next day at 3 o'clock, he goes down to the pier, and up pops the fish, because it was an honorable fish. And the fish says, now what are your 3 wishes? And the fisherman says, well, these are my 3 wishes. I thought about it all night. You know what? I got to tell you, it was fun. All night long, I was thinking about my 3 wishes. Here are my 3 wishes. Here's the first one. The first one is, I hope that everybody in this village has a lovely day today. And the fish smiles, says, granted, everybody in the town today, this village will have a lovely day. And what's your second wish, says the fish? Well, he says, this is a delightful time thinking about this wish and these 3 that I have, and you gave it to me, Mr. Fish. So my second wish is that you, Mr. Fish, have a lovely day today too. And the fish goes, thank you, I'll have a lovely day too. Granted. And the fish says, and what's your 3rd wish? And the fisherman says, well, I don't have a 3rd wish. I figure if everybody has a nice day, and you have a nice day, then I think that's perfect just in and of itself. I don't need anything more than that. And the fish says, well, I've been caught a few times, and every time I'm caught, people want wealth, and they want power, And they want all those things. Eternal youth. And you just want everybody to have a nice day today. Well, the fisherman said, well, I thought about that. I thought about having all kinds of money, but money doesn't bring you happiness. And I thought about, having eternal youth, but he says, I kind of like my aches and pains. They remind me I'm human. So no, I'm quite satisfied if everyone has a nice day, and you have a nice day, then you can't get anything more perfect than that, can you? Well, the fish is deeply impressed. And the fish says, let's leave my alarm, just a second. I'm almost done. Stop. 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to go into 11 minutes, all right? That's okay. We can take a vote. And the fish says, what? You've still got that extra wish. Would it be okay, said the fish, if I take your third wish? And the fisherman says, oh, by all means, I'd love you to have my wish. And the fish says, you know what? My wish is I could spend more time with you. That's that story. The kingdom of heaven, the reality is it's tough. It's really, really tough out there. Jesus knew that. He sent his disciples out in groups of 2. It's really tough out there. People are bruised, people are injured, people are in pain. Go out in groups of 2. Meet them, be present to them, heal them, be kind and be gracious to them. Don't carry all kinds of accoutrements, just be with people, and the kingdom of heaven is revealed. And people will follow you because of your kindness, not your power, not the force of your argument, not your piety, but our kindness. Our kindness transforms this world. It has no other antidote to pain and misery. Kindness, that is a seed of the kingdom of God.